This podcast is part of the Gonna Geek Network. The opinions expressed may not represent other podcasts or affiliates of Gonna Geek. Check out more podcasts at GonnaGeek.com and get ready because geekness starts in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Arthouse Legends, where art and geek culture collide. This is the MovieDude Eric, and yes, I am the Queen of Diamonds, and along with me are...
This is Kent, and I've never been to Korea.
And this is Cody, and I've also never been to Korea.
I don't think anyone's been to Korea in this movie, even when they say it is in Korea. Especially considering that it's called The Manchurian Candidate, starring Frank Sinatra, Lawrence Harvey, Janet Leigh, Angela Lansbury, Henry Silva, James Gregory, Leslie Parrish, and directed by John Frankenheimer. So, gentlemen, are we ready to get our conspiracy theory on?
After the week that I've been having, yeah. Because that's all that's been going on.
Yes, I have to admit, yet again, I cannot believe just how appropriate an episode that we have picked for this election cycle. We just keep rolling out the hits, don't we?
The only other perfect timing movie you could have been reviewing this week would have been Planet of the Apes. Especially given the ending. You blew it up. You blew it up.
Oh.
You maniacs, you blew it up.
Oh, man. That's... okay, we're trying our hardest to not get too political with this movie, but I'll just say that...
Too late.
I'll just say that the response to the victor of the election has been entertaining, to say the least. Whether or not I agree or not, I'm going to completely plead the fifth. But I have to say, though, the reaction has been quite spectacular.
You'll plead the fifth, and half the internet is drinking fifths. So,
yeah, I'll be drinking fifth pretty soon too. So
I will say, if you want to compare it to an election, there were a lot of comments about this movie during the 2008 election. Mm-hmm. Because they had a candidate that was a known prisoner of war, and people were like, oh my god, did they do something to him? No, I don't believe they ever did anything to him, but this movie was in the collective conscious, so...
Yeah, I heard this movie mentioned that year for the other guy more than that one.
Yes, especially with
that too.
A very well. It was funny because I was going back through and I was looking at for any kind of differing opinions on the Manchurian Candidate, and I found a lot of things leading to Alex Jones of all people.
Of course.
I have to admit I'm not too big on Alex Jones. I've heard his stuff before, and he is very entertaining, to say the least. But I have to say, though, I think I've gotten a lot more Alex Jones this week than I really was expecting. And I'm still trying to wash it off of my skin. That is...
Use a scrub brush. Here, use a wire one. It might help more.
I'm thinking a Brillo pad at this point. But,
yeah.
All right, but yes, we're talking about The Manchurian Candidate, which was a novel that was not really big at the time, although it had gotten a bit of play. And this was a movie that its star, Frank Sinatra, really wanted to do. This was something that he was very passionate about. I know that he took the Cold War and the Red Scare really seriously, and he was also someone who wasn't exactly a big fan of McCarthy for reasons than other people, I want to think. And of course, he does have kind of ties of his own to certain individuals and groups that are not exactly within the realms of the legal type.
Yes.
So
you mean in Vegas? Or
Hollywood, Vegas,
Yeah. But he's mostly known as a singer. That's the thing. It's like most people would go Sinatra.
He's
gonna sing.
He was, but believe it or not, before this, he actually made his big acting debut in a movie called From Here to Eternity, which kind of blew him up as a potential movie star, and from there he, because of his popularity as a singer and the fact that he did have the money to kind of finance and get stuff off the ground, he decided that he was going to take this whole acting thing 100% serious. And so he did the Manchurian Candidate, and he, because of his power, he was capable of getting first pick on actors, actresses, directors, and stuff. When John Frankenheimer, who had kind of got this thing off the ground, met up with Frank Sinatra. It was kind of funny. I listened to the audio commentary on the Criterion. Basically, it's like as long as we shut up, he was in. And so they had a meeting for about 2 hours, and they didn't say a damn word. And he signed himself. That was how it was. But, okay, so I guess the first thing we need to ask is, what's your familiarity with this movie, with this book, or if you've seen the remake that came out about, I want to say 12 years ago. What about you, Cody, since you're the guest on here?
Oh, well, thank you. My familiarity with, like, the concept and everything of this, I believe came about when Homeland premiered. Because it follows a bit of a similar premise, like prisoner of war turned against his country and everything like that. So, like, that was an influence, like mentioned when Howard Gordon was doing interviews, and Homeland itself, like, was an adaptation from, like, another Israeli show that I believe took inspiration from Manchurian Candidate and other events in Israel itself. So, like, I knew it sparked some interest, and I sought out the film, the remake. I didn't even know about an original at the time. And I'm not embarrassed to say, when I first saw the original, this would be a few years ago now, I turned it off about halfway through. I got bored. This is the remake. Coming back to it now, I was enthralled. Different temperament and everything like that now than I was a few years ago watching it.
So this was pre and post Homeland kind of viewing of Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah, and it's like also seeing how Homeland dealt with. For Homeland, it was the story of Nicholas Brody, and seeing how they dealt with that story, and now watching how Denzel Washington's character and Liev Schreiber, I believe, and the remake. And then only very, very recently did I see the original.
What about you, Kent?
I was not familiar with any of the movies or the book. I just knew the term Manchurian Candidate meant somebody who was, roughly speaking, somebody brought into a position of power that had been compromised by, quote unquote, the enemy, or somebody hostile to that group. I think I kept seeing it in role-playing game supplements, which would inspire me at all. Yeah. But
I'm surprised that you didn't think it came from an Iron Man comic book.
No, younger me was not really into Marvel.
I see.
So, well, or if they were, my friends that were into Marvel were solid X-Men fans, and like, there was X-Men, and then there was the rest of the Marvel universe, and who cares about them?
Yeah.
It's like the Manchurian. Isn't that the Mandarin? Or it's like, isn't there some other villain? Like, no, Manchurian Candidate. It's a movie, and they brainwash somebody. And okay.
I'll be honest here. The title itself is one that I just didn't get anything from when I first heard it. It was actually when, I want to say it was in one of the Stephen King novels that he kind of gave the premise, and it sounded interesting enough that I went and sought it out at that particular point. And from the first scene, just the pre-credit sequence, I was like, what the hell is this? It just, it captures you right from the beginning because you're kind of curious, and it goes so quickly to, to that. And I was just like really enthralled with where this went, especially with that. I'm sorry. With the way that it, had that kind of jump from Korea to going back to New York, the way that it did, I was just really caught off guard, and it was like, what the hell's going on here? It's like, well, and kind of getting the flashbacks and the way that they deal out the information in the film, I just found myself completely enthralled. And then, of course, when we get to that first dream sequence, and can we say that these dream sequences are genuine what the fucks? I mean, come on, that first one, that 380 pan, going from the Hydrangea convention in New Jersey to the Chinese Korea, the Chinese Russian amphitheater, with
delegation,
with the big photos of Stalin and Chairman Mao.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that it was. I actually wrote a paper on this earlier this year for American history because of the Cold War mentality behind the film, and it was when I was watching it earlier this year that I kind of laughed at this moment because, one, just the fact that they had to have these huge ass pictures of Joseph Stalin and Chairman Mao. Which at this point, I don't even believe that they were alive at this point. They were just like, we just, because we were evil.
I think Mao might be alive, but yeah, Stalin's dead.
Like, we're evil. We got to have pictures of these evil men so that we, because, if we don't have them in the same theater, that obviously we can't be considered an evil conspiracy if we don't have these pictures up, right? But also on top of that, just the idea of Russians and Chinese working together in any shape, way, or form is for a historical nut just is laughable beyond all things. Even in evil cabal to bring down America, it's hilarious. But
not only, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
So not only was Mao not dead, he was still in office when this movie was being made. And Joseph Stalin was...
No, he was dead. He was
dead, yeah. He died in 52.
He was officially proclaimed dead in 52,
Yeah. I had a moment when that scene happened, which I have some thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was that first moment when those pictures are shown. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Mao. Who the hell? And then I had this chill go down my spine when I realized who the other picture was.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the whole framework of that scene, we don't maybe have to get into this here or later on, but there's so much about the framing of that scene and who were the black women supposed to be representing?
No. Because it's from, you're seeing the dream sequence from two different perspectives. You see, with the first one, you're seeing the dream from Marco's. So Marco would have white women because it's all in their minds, right? So it's white women talking about hydrogenous. The second time, we're seeing it from Al's perspective, who's black. So he would see black women from his perspective. So that's...
I thought some of them had split perspectives, so they'd see a mixed audience, which seemed odd during a time of segregation.
But it would be odd if a black man was seeing white women, in a convention of hydrogenous, especially if I don't know, maybe it would be normal to see white women, but I actually kind of like that particular detail because it definitely shows more thought. The passiveness of the mind, that we accept what we accept and not, on its own terms. And especially considering that this is meant to be a calming thing, right? This is supposed to dull their senses for them to not realize that they are actually under the control and command of these very horrible individuals. I love those little details that we get with all the different flashbacks because they all have a different perspective, and especially considering that where Marco and Al are seeing are being affected negatively by this. Those are the only two that we see having negative reactions to what happened to them. But the fact that that the one person who should be considering that he's the one who actually murdered people under duress, Shaw would not show any kind of problems with this, which I think is kind of interesting in itself. But so yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about the plot specifically, because I have to admit this is a pretty wild ass plot, which is these guys took over this unit specifically to set one of them up to become a national hero so that he could become an assassin, specifically so that they I guess of difficult targets to get to in Washington, because they seem to have him go after a very famous businessman, and later on when he is being groomed, or that they're trying to kind of pave the way for the senator to get the to get the presidency or vice presidency. That they're kind of killing anyone who opposes him, which I think is also kind of interesting. But it's kind of far flung, isn't it? Or do you
I see. Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm coming at this like from a weird perspective. Just follow me here.
Okay.
I've gotten into RPG role-playing games as a game master lately, and so I've put a lot of time and effort and thought into the machinations of the political leaders in my game, and like what their desires are, and how they are gonna run across with my players. So I'm kind of thinking of this as like a puppet master idea, and it makes sense. I get what they're going for. I get like why, if you're like a special interest or an enemy of a country, you would want to do this. There's far easier ways to do it. Like, say, find a businessman who has had a bad run and help that businessman out and invest in him and bail him out constantly. And then when it comes time for that person to take political office, then you call in favors.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
If there's one thing that
a mob way to do it, but yeah.
If there's one thing that I'm going to give the remake a little bit of credit for, was the fact that one of the things that, in a way, I guess you could say this isn't implied but never outright stated in the original, is why did they pick this unit, especially considering that they specifically set up Shaw as the hero. Did they know that he came from a political family? Did they do this specifically because they knew that he had ties that the others didn't, or did they find this out afterwards? In the remake, they make it set up that they did it intentionally because they wanted leverage over the extremely powerful mole that they had.
His mother was a senator already.
Yes. And she in this, and Angela Lansbury in this, which I'm about to talk about in great detail, that she is on the prospects of grooming a new husband, her great husband, her former husband who died, Shaw's father, was this well-known, beloved hero in government, and she is grooming basically McCarthy. Right, I mean this guy is so damn silly. I can't even look at him without wanting to laugh. Like the 57 joke, even to this day makes me just weep. I'm laughing, trying to wipe tears away. This is one of the funniest jokes, just basically because it's so lazy and so funny and goofy, and I could definitely see this as something a politician would do. And the fact that he didn't even come up with it. It was his wife that came up with it.
Yeah. How many are we saying today? 57? Okay.
Well, it's like, I just need a number that I can remember. Like, okay, Heinz 57.
The sad thing is, I think in the last couple years, there was some politicians screaming about, we've got X number of something.
This is the McCarthy playbook.
Right now. I know, and it's still going on. And
we talked last week about how Facing the Crowd was definitely trying to talk about McCarthyism in a unique perspective. I think, and understand that this film came out, this was one of the first films to deal with McCarthyism head on. That just basically was willing to call McCarthy out on the floor, make him look like a doofus. But I think it's also interesting is that they make this McCarthy an instrument of the very communists that he's supposedly going after.
Yeah. Well, it's that theory of the more you point and say you hate something, the more you are that.
Yeah, the more that you scream fire, the less they realize you have matches on you, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's just, I think it's hilarious. I think that in a way this is something that the conservatives who kind of agree with the Red Scare and are concerned about the Red Invasion, but are kind of pissed off at McCarthy's antics, that this is a way of kind of belittling him without belittling the issue of communism in America, especially communism in the halls of government. So again, it's one of those things that I think it has kind of a meta element to it, while at the same time it just makes people like McCarthy look just so damn stupid. Dangerous, definitely.
Dangerous,
but stupid. And I just find it just hilarious. The way that he side skirts any actual information. When Marco's like, could you give me some numbers? I'll give them to you later. I don't have them right now. They're my other shorts. It's just like, it's also kind of funny considering that one of the films that took homage to the Manchurian Candidate was Zoolander, which would go on to do its own version of the Manchurian Candidate and spoof that idea even further. But
sorry, phone's ringing.
So I guess at this particular point, let's talk about the characters, because we have several really interesting characters here. I want to start with Shaw first. Lawrence Harvey. From the first time we see him, he comes off as kind of a pompous prick. I think it's really awesome how they do this, because everyone doesn't like him. You know that nobody likes him. He's the guy that that deserves the "kick me" sign on the back, right?
Yeah.
It's like.
Sorry, was he American?
No, he was British.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I missed that at some point when I was watching the original. And at some point he's having a scene and he's talking, and I'm like, wait a minute, did they just let his accent slip here? And okay.
Well, the thing is that, and this is coming from the director's mouth, is that because Kennedy was in office and that people were kind of used to these kind of upper crust accents, and especially considering that his mother is being played by Angela Lansbury, who also has this kind of Anglo-Saxon aspect to her her dialect as well, that it kind of plays off one another. Another interesting thing, Angela Lansbury was only 3 years older than Lawrence Harvey at the time of filming.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is that Lawrence Harvey and they basically said, okay, just try to keep it undertones, but we're not going to make it a big deal, because they really wanted to differentiate. In fact, I think it's brilliant that they do it this way, because everyone else has a true blue American accent, right? Everyone else has got this kind of thick American America kind of thing, obviously.
Either Midwest or New York. Working class.
So, Sinatra's definitely got the New York kind of swagger to his talk, and he ain't gonna never.
It's very very evident, like the time the movie was made.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted Frank Sinatra to look and act and sound like Frank fucking Sinatra because that was what they were selling. They were selling Frank Sinatra in this movie, and I have to admit it works in that aspect because as soon as you throw even the slightest twinge of a British accent, you just hear snob. You hear it. You hear I'm better than you. I am above you. And so it easily puts him on a level so that when you get to that point where he talks about what happened with the girlfriend, and when he breaks down, I love that scene. I love what Lawrence Harvey does when he's talking to Marco about the girlfriend, because you realize this guy is just a guy. He's just, he is a dick weasel at times, but he's not that way because he wants to be. It's just who he is. And, and on top of that, kind of has a good reason to be a dick weasel, as it turns out, considering what his mother has done to him. And especially if you caught what was implied in the movie and is outright stated in the book about the relationship with him and his mother, that gets even darker.
The guy is Joffrey if Joffrey was not twisted the way he was, and he had a mother that was like Cersei.
I mean, this is a Joffrey I could feel bad about, and I feel so bad for Shaw. I mean, Shaw is a bit of a dick. I love how they call it out. I mean, hell, Marco says, "Look, the guy is the biggest asshole of all time." Why do I feel so? Why do I feel so kind towards him when I know otherwise? With the whole conditioning. I love those little details that they throw into the movie to kind of monkey around with the emotional aspects of the film, and that you're kind of not knowing exactly what someone really feels about somebody. And yet at the same time, it's in the back of their mind. It's always in it, like, do I really feel this way? Is this because I want to, or is this because I'm being conditioned? It's like, I find that aspect. I mean, even before we find out about find out that Shaw's mother is a KGB plant, when that reveal happens, is like part of you is like, fuck, but the part is like, yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, it doesn't come out of left field. It's like they give you all the signs, they give you all the indications that she is not someone to be trusted, and and that there's a really good reason why Shaw doesn't like his mother so much, which again is really difficult because he could have easily gone into the kind of like Luke Skywalker, Hamlet, whiny bitch mode, which he never really does, which is interesting enough. But what are you getting off of Shaw? Do you have a take on him, a different approach?
No, pretty much that. I'd like to know what the dark aspect from the novel was.
Oh, she had sex with him.
Yeah,
there was incest.
Whoa, that's wacky.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean they make it clear in the movie. It's insinuated pretty heavily because they didn't want to go so far as to make it clear that she has had sex with her son, because they were concerned about the censors, the whole incest thing. But no, and I got to give it to Angela Lansbury, which I'm about to do. Holy shit! But before I do,
there's a really good interview that Eric, I'll link you to, so you can include in the show notes, with her and I believe Alec Baldwin talking about the original at a film festival sit down, and
I think I've already seen it, but
well, just for anybody else who might be interested, and she has a really funny reaction in that interview where Alec starts to dance around the thing in the novel, and then she just calls him out on it, and
she's
so
blunt.
He's like, so is that gonna happen? And she's like, no. She's like, no, I'm not gonna be in a movie where that happens.
Which makes me kind of wonder if she would have done that as part of her training to break him easier, because he's already scarred.
Well,
that's a thing the KGB could use to go, hee hee,
well,
pink, okay, you're ours.
in the book and in the movie, to an extent, you get the sense that she truly, genuinely loved her husband, and that when he died, it broke her. And she sees the qualities of her husband in her son, and she, her instincts, her political instincts, told her to go with someone like Iceland that has the ability to kind of fast track to a position of power. But part of her still yearns for that do-good fighter element that she had with her husband. And while her son definitely had ill will towards her after she married Iceland, you could still see the guy that really wants to do good. There is someone in there. He's just really angry, really hurt, and messed up in the head. And especially as this film goes on, and you just see the mental toll on Lawrence Harvey's face. I don't know if I should bring this up, but Lawrence Harvey was suffering with bipolar disorder and depression his entire life. In fact, he would eventually go on to commit suicide. He channeled that for this movie, and you can definitely see it in the performance. And it's one of those things that everyone talks about Angela Lansbury. She got an Oscar nomination for this. Everybody talks about Frank Sinatra because this was his major starring role. Very few people talk about Lawrence Harvey, and I think that that's kind of a sad thing because he kicked this movie's ass just all the way around, and I love what he does here. But let's be honest here, though, Angela Lansbury fucking stole the fucking movie.
Go ahead, do your.
Oh my God!
Rant.
Yes,
it's a loving spiel about Angela Lansbury.
Okay. First off, I think everyone here, their first impression came from Murder, She Wrote, right?
Everybody dies.
Even
Wherever
if you've never seen the show, you know her in it. This is what your big claim to fame is.
Oh yeah. And if you're too young for Murder, She Wrote, she's Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, we're talking about characters that are genuinely sweet. I mean, again, we had the same conversation, Facing the Crowd, with Andy Griffith. I mean, it's Andy fucking Taylor. That's Ben Matlock. You don't want to see bad things out of this person. And to see this cunning, vicious, political animal who just will eat men alive and just do it looking good the entire time. Oh man, did she just kick ass. It's like anytime that she was anywhere around, you knew that she was on her game. And basically, she should have won. It was only that her son just happened to get deprogrammed just before this whole thing, or deprogrammed enough that he was capable of pulling a Darth Vader at the last minute. That she loses because she had it down pat. I mean, there was a 99% success rate here, right? I mean, this would be just like, going into an election with basically the entire media saying you're going to win. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Too soon? Too soon?
Yeah,
okay.
Way too soon. Way too soon. But nobody's assassinated anyone.
Okay.
All
right, let's. But all right, so
let's point out she was nominated for Best Actress in a Supporting Role for this.
Yes.
For the Oscar, and won the Golden Globe for it.
So what did you think of this performance? Did you get the same impression? Were you impressed? Were you not impressed? Did this change the way you saw this character?
The twist, you mean, or
everything? I mean, just the way. I mean, from the first moment she shows up, and I love how Frankenheimer puts it in the commentary. It's like, look, I wanted to make sure that she burst into the scene. So the first thing that you see her doing is she's bustling through these military men, pushing them around, setting the stage, ordering people around.
Yeah.
And that sets up her character so well. You understand that this is an alpha. She is the one who's really in control. So that whenever she's on screen, she's always ordering. She's always,
Right.
she's the one that has the most control of everything going on. The moment I think that she recognizes that she doesn't have total control is when she finally breaks down and says that she's upset that that the KGB picked her son to be the assassin. Is like that she kind of admits that she doesn't have complete total control. But and it's interesting considering that in the remake we have Meryl Streep playing this role, and yeah, I don't know exactly how to put that. I get the sense that Meryl Streep was, or maybe it's just me, but Meryl Streep was trying to channel a little Hillary a little bit in that.
Yeah, I could see it.
I mean go ahead.
All the conspiracy theories, but yeah, no.
Well, I don't want to think that Hillary's done anything with an underage adult like that, but
I liked both of their performances. I'm gonna break Eric's heart. I think I'm more partial to the Meryl Streep rendition of the character, but there was a lot that I did like about Angela Lansbury. There's especially that moment when she comes on screen for the first time, and she's pushing her way through the crowd of men, and she gets all the way up to the front of the line, and there is a military officer standing there, like right next to her, that she's kind of pushed her way next to, and he kind of looks down at her and gives her a look, and she's not paying him any mind at all. Like, he's not there for her, and he has this physical, like, he has this body language, and he has this look that he is giving her that not only should you not be here, woman, you shouldn't be here, you're an old woman, why are you here, why are you trying to tell me what to do? And she does not care. She's not paying him any attention. He is not there. And she just asserts this dominance and control and not being fearful of any of the men around her, any of these men who have been to war and back around her. She exudes this confidence of being stronger than them in a lot of ways by pushing them out of the way. And Meryl Streep, I definitely, and I don't know if it was just, if I had seen this film in a different election year, if I would have not also picked up on some of the Hillary influences and like just imagining it, I guess. But I definitely felt some of that too, Eric. I also, she exuded a lot of the same stuff in a lot of the same ways, I thought. Hers was more, she has that moment where she's giving that speech and she's trying to convince all the political, and I'm talking about the Meryl Streep version here, where she's trying to convince them to,
about the vice presidency?
Yeah, to put Raymond on the ticket. Yeah. And she has that great moment where she tells them off, and she just has this moment. It reminded me of that scene in Lincoln when Daniel Day-Lewis is explaining his thoughts as Lincoln explaining his thoughts on like why he did the emancipation and why they need the amendment to pass, and he's going through the rationale and the legality and everything like that. And Daniel Day-Lewis finishes that speech with like this booming, powerful moment of, I am the President of the United States, enclosed with immense power, and he slams his fist down on the table. And her speech had like that similar feel to me.
That mic drop kind of thing.
Yes, very much. It felt like, I was like, that is why she's a senator. Lansbury never had a booming speech moment because that version of the character did not need to. Meryl Streep's character asserted control and power in different ways. They're two different like takes on.
They are, and that's one of the things another thing that I was really impressed when I went back to the remake after watching the original for this podcast, which is the fact that the Iceland character, the husband character, isn't in the remake at all. That
That's right.
that-
Yeah.
Right. They
She
just
do-
make
she doesn't
her
need it.
the senator,
Yeah.
and yeah. okay.
she's the one in control. She's pushing for her son to get to be on the vice president ticket. She has all the control and the power, and that's the right way to play it on the remake. But one of the things, and the reason I'm going to slightly edge towards Angela Lansbury, is that she has the maneuverability. She's the snake in the grass. She's the underestimated type. Whereas with the way that they position the character in the remake, she was a force. Like, everyone knew just how powerful she was, to the point where they won't talk to her in front of her because they were too afraid of what she would do to them. Which, again, for a powerful character, I like what they do and I don't want the remake to be just like the original. And I love the differences between the two, which is the reason why I can watch both and enjoy them both on different levels. But
Absolutely.
between the two, I love how, again, you know, people just underestimate her. They just think that that Iceland is the one that they're dealing with. They don't realize that he's the decoy. He's the fake. He's the one, he's just the sham, while, the visible face, that they don't see her as the dagger that's coming to strike them in the back. And just the way that she uses that power, that she has this confidence, that she knows just how powerful she is when no one else does, just makes her so much of a juicier character, that when we get closer to the end, that we understand why it is that Shaw is disturbed by his mother, the conflict that he has about his love-hate relationship with her. With the remake, I love how they make it a little bit more loving between Shaw and his mother, how you could definitely feel like there was a very close bond, that he was kind of, in a way, a mother's boy in the remake. But again, the thing is, though, is that especially when you get to that ending, and there's a massive difference with how it ends in the remake and then the sequel, and the remake and the original. And interesting enough, the book falls more towards the original. The original was extremely faithful to the book, to say the least. And again, I think that it's great that they changed it up for the remake. But man, though, I just the way that Angela Lansbury just has that ability to maneuver, that not having to, that I think that a great character needs to be underestimated, that you don't realize just how powerful they are. Because there's the moment that you realize just how much they control the movie, you already set up an expectation that it's going to be very difficult to live up to. That's why characters like Hannibal Lecter, Anton Chigurh, great, memorable, supporting characters, they have to be able to show that they are in control, but usually it's at a place of disadvantage. Like with Hannibal is behind glass for most of the movie. He's caged. We can't see him flex his muscles. With Anton, the first time we see him, he's arrested with his hands handcuffed behind his back. We don't see just how powerful he is until after we see him get out of that. So again, I think that's one of the beautiful things about what Angela Lansbury does in this movie. But
Eric, I wonder, a show that's very near and dear to both of our hearts. I wonder, her name's escaping me, so forgive me, but I wonder if the actress who played Sherry Palmer took some inspiration, because I definitely had, especially in the remake, I definitely had season 1 of 24, especially flashbacks, given that the whole premise of that first season of that show, and also of the reboot, it seems, coming out.
Well, considering that they have very similar trajectories in that season, I would not be surprised, especially considering that Howard Gordon, again, also the guy who did
Homeland.
24 and Homeland, I definitely see him playing off Manchurian Candidate. I also believe that he played off of Macbeth. that there's definitely a Shakespearean element, and there's a bit of a Shakespearean element here too, considering the son who is trying to live up to the father, and in doing so has to, I guess, Oedipal, which wasn't exactly Shakespeare, but kind of an Oedipian element to it.
Little more Hamlet. Dad died, and then Mom married some other guy, and...
Well, if you know what Oedipus did, then you'll also understand what I mean here.
Yeah, I know.
But...
He's such a mother... yeah. Yeah.
But, no, it's just... Yeah, it's just... I love how this plays on all of these elements. I also love the fact that, in a way, you could take this story, and you could remove it entirely from American politics. You could actually... send this back to ancient Japanese times. You can send this to tribal African times. You could do this as a Roman tragedy. You could probably even do this as a sci-fi fantasy. This story does have a lot more to it than just its time and place, but it does fit the time and place so well. But I gotta say though, it is very interesting seeing kind of how this is a movie, especially considering it came out in 1962, is really egalitarian in regards to race, while at the same time a massive mistrust in women, which I think is very interesting, because I don't know if there's a female character in this movie that you can truly 100% trust. With the exception of, I guess, Al's wife, which is in the movie for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
this movie has a definite, both of them have
well,
a definite.
Hell, at points you could. I'm sure there's a conspiracy theory that says everybody's in on it. Everyone, period, everywhere.
Well, everyone does play a part in it. I mean, but politics is always going to be a tribal thing. It's not just the politician. Everyone's somehow involved. But I mean, like they introduce a love interest for Marco. But that first conversation that they have is so fucking weird. Like, who talks like this? Even in 1960s movies. This is...
In both versions. Well,
I mean, in the remake, they actually call it out. They actually go, oh yeah, by the way, you shouldn't trust her. She's actually not who she says she is. Which, why would the FBI have someone working as a clerk just for this assignment? Like, of all the things, why would you do that?
That especially talking about the remake now, that felt weird to me, given that it definitely seemed like this was a very an operation that was put in place very quickly. Like, it didn't seem like they were following this for too long.
I would just love to see the FBI people going, yeah, we need this agent to be one of your Zabar's things, but only for a few minutes while this guy's checking out. Just throw her an apron, let her ring him up, okay? But it's like, how do you explain that?
Well, I don't even think that happened. I think what probably happened is she was the agent, and they didn't even tell the store anything. Like, she applied for the job, and maybe they pulled some strings, and then she got the job. And
they faked a resume.
They faked a good resume, and that's how she got in. And there's that moment where she sees Denzel Washington's character, like, she's on the train. I remember making notes. I'm like, oh, well, she's totally bad. I went through, because I watched the remake first, so... Mm-hmm.
So that right there, you already that's kind of a bit of a spoiler. Although it's been one of those kind of film theory things, that has been out forever. I think Roger Ebert kind of brought it to voice that we shouldn't trust anything that she says. And then I realized something about her name. Now, understand that Frankenheimer, even in the commentary, says, I don't know if she's an agent or not. I just went straight directly from the book. So everything that's on that train sequence, that came directly from the book. Not a thing from it was changed from that scene, from the book. So I went back to something interesting that I thought was interesting, is that her name is Eugenie Rose Chaney. And also bear in mind that in the sequel, they changed how they pronounce Eugenie, but it's the same name. I think it's like Eugenia or Eugenia or something like that. They kind of played around with with the way that her first name is. But I mean, first off, there's several kind of motifs that are happening here. One of those is things that are dealing with the conspiracy revolve around flowers. The Russian Chinese conference is under the guise of a hydrangea convention. Flowers and people whose names have flower elements have some sort of part to play in this movie. But Eugenie is a type of hybrid flower. Obviously, her middle name is Rose. So right there, it gives us an indicator that she's actually more involved in this conspiracy than is being let on. And it's done so in a very subtle, very kind of subliminal element that kind of does it. And understand that this is gently just coming off of Psycho. I think this is her next film after Psycho that she did. And man, did she just fucking bring the sex. I mean, just damn, right? I mean, she's playing him. She's got him hooked on her. She's definitely kind of giving him all the right signals, right? She's really she's playing up that aspect to it, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think it's just kind of interesting how that character goes. But what do you think of Eugenie or all of our other major female characters? I know we didn't talk about Jocelyn, who was the girl that.
That poor girl. In both movies, she gets it bad. Like, pick your poison. Like, and like in those instances were like some of the only instances I felt bad for Raymond, because it's putting myself in the shoes of being brainwashed and killing.
It was his mother that did it. That was
it's. I might have missed if there's a reference to it in the original, but definitely in the remake, he has a line to her about the fact that they could have been something before, but his mother chased her off.
No. He says it to
he says
Marco.
it in this.
Yeah. And then in the remake, he drowns her to death right after drowning her father. And then,
he doesn't shoot him?
And in the original, he shoots them both.
Well, I have to admit that I think there's the startling nature and the quickness of their deaths in the original that it makes it a lot more tragic for me, because it's just it shocks you. I mean, first off, you know that the father's dead. It has to happen. But when she comes down and he shoots her and he just doesn't think. I mean, he does it just so coldly and casually, knowing just how much she feels for her. That's what's so beautiful about that flashback, is that you realize just how much he loves her. You realize just how much that in his right mind, the idea of doing this would, that he would put the bullet to his own head before he would do it. And the cold way that he does it, and the cold way that it's filmed in almost that one take, it's all kind of done in this one shot. And, she goes down and he just walks away. And it shocks you. It's just the way that it's framed, the way it's positioned, the way that it that it's done so coldly and casually, without a thought in the world. And then that because he's going to realize that she's dead, and that how much this is going to kill him, right? That in a way that this is the thing that helps with him getting deprogrammed, right? That realization that I was the one who killed her. I was the one who did this, and I was triggered by my mother. Which I have to admit, though, I love how before we get that, that Jocelyn in the Queen of Diamonds costume. What part of you kind of got choked up at there? Like even if you've seen the remake first. They don't do this, but it's just like that. Oh my God, no! What the hell?
Mm-hmm. Is she in it? Like what?
Well, the thing that I think is beautiful was, first off, we have that with those dream sequences, right? Those dream sequences kind of put you on edge. So, visually speaking, anything could happen. You're like, what the fuck? But on top of that, we saw him be triggered accidentally when he was in the bar, with the whole jump in the lake kind of thing. So we know that anyone could trigger him. It's, just if you happen to accidentally say the right things, that you can trigger him and he will do it. So having that kind of be set up and then have her in the Queen of Diamonds getup right from the beginning, you're just thinking, oh my God, she could literally do anything she wanted. She has all the power in that costume. And it's just like, what the hell would they do next? And then, of course, you find out they eloped, which, needless to say, I think was kind of
could have been her idea.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just you up. Okay. Yeah. Let's go.
So, in a way, even I think that he would have gladly done it anyway, but, the fact that, she had all the power in the world. She could control him, and she didn't even realize it. But,
right.
Anyway.
So, just before we get into, any other specifics, I had some thoughts on the remake.
Yeah.
It really threw me at the start. It was obvious we were in the Middle East. It was obvious that this was either the Gulf War or the Iraq War.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled for a while to kind of pin down when the remake...
Oh, no, they call it out. They call it 1991.
Okay. Because I had some questions, and I just looking at my notes. At one point, there's soldiers outside of Penn Station on the street, and so I was struggling out. Was that because of a presidential candidate? Was that because this is post 9/11 and there was still...
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the way that the remake works is that 1991 was the time of the initial taking, and that I believe 13 years have lapsed between the time that they were taken and programmed to the time of the event, because it was supposed to be 2004. That was the primary year. That was the election year. They were definitely playing off of the fact that this was, I think that they definitely had the Bush re-election in mind. Definitely with the whole play of the security, a lot of use of the word security, secure our future, I think is
Raymond, especially in the remake, when they were doing the campaign moments, felt very John Kerry to me. And
I don't know if that was what they were going for. I don't think that, because when they were making this, they weren't...
Yeah. I don't think that's what they were going for. That's just what struck me, given, I was thinking, what election is this? I guess this is 04, given military experience. And John Kerry just stuck in my head because of that. And then I'm not trying to sound ignorant here. Just keep in mind, I was very young around 9/11. So were there soldiers for a while outside of Penn Station?
I don't know if they were there by 2004, but I think that's, in a way, one thing I always like to think of with Jonathan Demme's remake is it's hyper realistic. It's kind of almost to the point of being kind of...
I think Penn Station is a major exchange point for a travel point.
Yeah.
And during this time, I believe soldiers were encouraged to keep their uniforms on. So you could see a lot of soldiers, but they're really just moving from one place, possibly from home to base, or just passing through for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not there as organized units. They're just there as people.
It was really... It's something that's become really obvious to me lately, going back and watching older movies and older shows like 24 and everything like that, where, at least to my eyes, being someone who was 10 years old on 9/11 and then 13 in 04, and then watching this and everything, there's a definite feel to movies from the early 2000s that still feel very 90s to me. They all just kind of blend together. They all kind of have this same feel and quality. And then there's this arbitrary jump in the middle of the mid 2000s where, oh yeah, this is 2007, this is 2008, this is 2009. Like, I can just tell. And, like, from wardrobe to how a film looks to the technology in the movie, like, there's moments in the remake where it's almost baby Big Brother with some of the spy gear and some of the technology and everything, where it's like, I get what they're going for. I get what they were going for here. It's hilarious to me that it looked like that at any point, because what I've become so familiar with.
In a way, I think that's something Demi was specifically wanting to do with the remake that was kind of in the same vein as the original, because you have to understand, again, when we talked about the big pictures of Mao Zedong and Joseph Stalin, that would not be something that you would see in a conspiratorial cabal type situation. That's meant to kind of play up the heightened fear of the Red Scare, to kind of, again, re-emphasize that outside forces want to crush America from within, to again play up the conspiracy, which is something that, let's be honest here, they were more easily able to do in that film than the remake, because the remake had to get rid of this whole ultra nationalist aspect, and they were trying to play up the corporate greed, corporate control of government instead. So that's a lot more difficult to express. So what they did for the remake was that they were trying to say that that the corporations are able to control the government by controlling the state of fear. And so that's kind of what I got from what they were trying to do. And I think they did pretty well, considering that they sloganized everything to an extent that you understood why everything was sloganized, but at the same time, it was ridiculously sloganized. I mean, I think that if you went through the remake and just pointed out all the different slogans, there's at least 20 or 30 of them. And to imagine that there was probably someone whose job on the movie was to make up new slogans for everybody. So, yeah. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. And again, it's a way to kind of to work around something that, you know, coming from a movie that was 40 years old at the time, to kind of update while at the same time still keep vital aspects of that particular concept. But for the original, though, there's just so much moving here, so many moving pieces, so many areas that are going, and so that when you finally get to the end result, and you finally get to when Marco finally convinces Shaw of what's happened to him, and we get to that final thing at Madison Square Garden. Okay. It's just, I love how they build up that suspense, because at this point we don't know if the programming is still on. He's still going through with it, so it's like, oh God, is he still going to do this? Does he, is he, did it just not work? Is he still going to do this? And so it ratchets up that tension, ratchets up how they're, the sense of what's going to happen. Is this going to happen? Did the programming just not, was it just too strong? And then to have that ending. And that ending is so beautiful because it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense of why these parts happen the way they do, and the ending happens the way it does. And in a way, it ends the way it should, right? I mean, the
good guys win.
Well, yes and no, because again, Shaw kills his mother in Iceland and ends that threat. Yeah. But he also kills himself for what he's done, including and especially what happened to Jocelyn. And you can and you know that was what he was thinking about when he pulled the trigger. Yeah. You know that was the death that really broke him, and broke the spell. I want to say that maybe I should ask this as a question: if he had not killed Jocelyn, and if he didn't realize that he killed Jocelyn, would he have been able to break the conditioning? Because I'm going to lean towards no.
At the end?
Yeah.
So if he didn't kill her.
If that didn't weigh on his conscience, if that didn't snap him out, would he have been able to break the conditioning?
Was he ordered to kill her, or did she just walk down?
No. She was he was only there to kill her father.
Yeah,
but she came down, and because and again, this is something they set up almost from the beginning. With the in that Evil Caval convention, which I'll call it from now on because that's awesome. But they set it up as like not only does he have to kill whoever he's there to kill, but if anyone finds out about him, he has to kill them as well. They set that up right at the beginning.
It's true,
and that's awesome how they set that up.
So Kent, the way it's you didn't see the remake, right?
No.
So the way it's framed in the remake, he walks to the like beach house or whatever of Jocelyn's father. And he's out kayaking, and he kind of like says, "You were right, I'm sorry." And Jocelyn's father's like, "It's okay, we're gonna get you help." And he pushes him out of the boat and drowns him in the water. And Jocelyn comes out and sees what's going on and runs out, and then he grabs her and drowns her.
That seems very violent. Like a gun would be quicker either way.
Yes, and it's
supposed to look like an accident.
Yeah, and and the way they frame it in the movie is that like she also drowned trying to save him or something like that. Like it it just rings like, yeah, okay, Alex Jones is gonna have a field day with that one. I think. Oh man, I don't know. She might have been able to get through to him at some point, maybe. I definitely think for the remake, him killing her, especially in the manner he did in the remake, is what helped break his programming because it was so personal, it was so violent and right in front of him. The killing in the original is also violent, but it's also quick and over, and it's not in his face as much.
I think that's the thing that and maybe it's just because it affected me. I remember the first time I saw this, and I saw the original before I saw the remake. The way that it happens, just the suddenness of it, and the cold element.
It's boom, boom.
He just walks out with that look on his face and the way he's stepping out.
Just to be clear here, I like the original's take on that scene if you're going to do that. I thought the way it's done in the remake is something I've seen a million times in like Lifetime movies and all these other
and
movies.
They play up the music a little bit.
Yeah, it's the classic cheesy female characters getting killed off for plot development cliche thing that is done in all the ways that is usually done. And so there's a lot that I like about the original. To answer your question, Eric, no. I don't think if he didn't kill her in either version, he would have been able to break out. I think in the original's version, or in the remake version of the story, him killing her is what helped snap him out, given the violent nature of it, and the violence in a physical way.
What about you, Kent?
Yeah, well, he doesn't snap out right away after killing her, but it's more like he may have been able to go home, sleep, dream it, and then realize the dream was reality, and he did it. And
Marco shows him the cards, and he breaks. And I mean, I love how they set this up. It's like he's so sure that he's broken the spell. It's like you're done. We've broken this. We're this is we're not gonna have to worry about this again. And then of course he goes and just
grabs the gun. Yeah.
It's like did it not work? Oh my God, is he still gonna kill?
It's the question, did the people who did the original programming foresee an instance where you can set them up for a command, and the command is delete the whole program?
Well, yeah, that's the beautiful thing about this. Like, since we don't know exactly what the parameters of the programming are, that means that at this particular point, he's a wild card. We don't know what's going to happen. We know what should happen, and since that's all that we do know, it leaves us for complete utter suspense as to what is eventually going to occur. Did this take effect? Is he going to be able to pull out of this? So it adds that tension, especially considering that they're also intercutting with Marco trying to find Shaw before he makes the shot. And of course, I come back to this, and now I'm thinking about Day of the Jackal, where we have the same situation where there's a race against time to catch the sniper before he kills. And so, you want to think that there's going to be a final confrontation between Marco and Shaw. And then it doesn't happen, because before Marco even finds him, even though he finds where he's positioned, he doesn't get to him until after he kills his mother in Iceland. And I love that. I love how they build up all this tension, and then kind of in a Watchmen type thing, like, oh, that's already been done. The outcome's already been resolved before we have that confrontation. But
instead, headshots.
Yeah. And to me that's satisfactory, because otherwise it would just be cliche. It would just be just another thriller, and this is actually getting to something more psychological. There's psychological tension in both the remake and the original. Lots of psychological tension, trauma, drama. It's just reeling with all of this. Everything that a character does, you're analyzing everything that they're doing to understand what it is that's going through their heads, and it delivers when you get to the final moment. It delivers because these actions are all culmination of the things that happened before it, the revelations that occurred, the character, the journey that both of these characters, specifically Marco and Shaw, have gone through up to this point. And to me, that's what makes the ending in both the original and the remake satisfying on both ends. Although I have to admit that when it comes to the two of them, the remake, I think, allows both characters to play equal parts of the outcome, which I think is a little bit more satisfactory in that sense. And on top of that, because it completely changes the stakes from the original. Because with the original, it was Marco trying to find Shaw before he kills the president. Here, it's that they trigger Marco to kill in order to secure Shaw's presidency. So again, the thing is, we're especially if you saw the original before seeing the remake, like I had, I was thinking, okay, it's going to come down to this chase again. It's like, wait a second, no, Marco's the shooter this time? What? Yeah. I mean, it just completely turns it around. But again, they also add another element to that remake, which I think is also kind of cool. So it doesn't lose that tension either. But again, what do you take of this finale? I guess is what I'm getting at.
In the original,
both. Or I mean, obviously you've only seen the original,
I didn't see the remake, so yeah. I'm like, but yeah, it's. I was not expecting the gun to turn on his last minute.
So you were expecting it to either be he'll shoot or he won't shoot, to shoot or not to shoot.
I was expecting him. I was expecting either Marco to step in and either talk him down, or kill him, or maybe he misses.
And I just realized I did throw another Hamlet reference in there just now.
Yeah. Well, he goes to pull the trigger and he overrides his own programming and decides, nope, I can't do it. So, but I didn't expect him to shoot his mom. So,
but you have to admit though, that was brilliant. That was beautiful. I mean, I don't want to say that we should kill mother, but no. But again, the thing is that because it just makes so much sense considering all the damage that this woman has done to him.
And his speech he gives, you can't stop her or him. Nothing can stop. It had to be this way. Which kind of makes sense, because if he had just shot the senator's stepdad, and then surrendered, or even if he shot himself right after that, she's still there. She's still manipulating. She's young enough she could remarry, set some other senator into this position, and
It just reminds
they
me
could just
of
repeat it in 8 years.
it just reminds me of the fate of Sherry Palmer in season 3 of all things. That that as long as she draws breath, there's a threat. That no matter what happens, if her mind is left to be able to operate, she will find a way to she'll find a way to cause damage and chaos. So, yeah, I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
Oh, well.
But what about you, Cody? You have anything on this ending?
One thing I just wanted to throw this out there: the original got the scale right for a convention.
Yes.
With MSG,
Yeah.
because the remake, it's like they're like in this small little theater
Well,
somewhere.
they could afford Madison Square Garden, or they had really good stock footage. I don't know which. I don't know. If
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like in the remake, like they spend all that money on like a shootout that you don't really need for this story.
Mm-hmm.
No.
You don't need to show like this fake out battle. Like, so like on that, like whether they got stock footage or were able to actually film it MSG, like it doesn't matter. They had that scene in there with everything, so that worked. And I kind of knew what was going to happen just because I've seen this movie before. Like, I've seen this story done before. I've seen the character. You don't know if he's completely turned or not. What's he going to do? I did enjoy the take me out bro look that Liev Schreiber has to Denzel Washington at that scene where he's like, take the shot, man. Take the shot. It's okay. Like, I liked that. I prefer the original over the remake's finale.
Wow,
just
I'm
because
a little shocked there, but okay.
Yeah.
I've seen what the remake is going for before. I've seen it in other places. Like, I kind of knew how it was going to end before I saw it end. Like, it's just that take on it has been done before, like a lot, and like 24 and other shows.
You.
So like the original's take on it, I preferred more, and it's also, I enjoy endings where it's like, congratulations, son, you won. Here's a pat on the shoulder and a gold star. Now figure it out for yourself. I got other shit to do. Mm-hmm. And that's the ending that the original has, where it's like, congratulations, you did this.
Yeah. Well, I do love the eulogy that Marco gives Shaw, where they throw his, where they take his Medal of Honor medal. But again, the thing is just like, I think the reason why I kind of like and this is like a bare kind of like, because I really like both of them equally, but the thing is that one thing that I just, especially considering that we're going this journey with Marco and Shaw in the original was the only one that was actually proactive, whereas Marco is chasing him down at the end, and he has nothing really to do. He has nothing going in this thing. He's just kind of there. Whereas with the remake, Marco has a part to play, Shaw has a part to play, and they both have, they both have a stake in the scene. And that's something that I kind of like, is considering that we spent so much time with these two characters, and both movies are about these two characters, that we follow both of these characters and everything they do. So I wanted them to have equal impact on what happens in the end, and that's something I just didn't get with the original. But the eulogy, I love how that Marco, even though Shaw had done something that no one will truly understand, and that the real story is never going to really come out, but at the same time that they could still respect him for doing the right thing, so to say, in taking care of a clear and present threat to the United States.
Right.
But all right, I know that we're kind of running pressed for time, so we'll go through Geek Sheet really quickly. I think we've gone through most of this. Sinatra is basically the man. Ocean's 11, anybody? Just letting you know. I mean, the original, not the remake. Lawrence Harvey. I have to say something awesome about Lawrence Harvey. Lawrence Harvey actually has a daughter, or had a daughter. His daughter's name was Domino Harvey, who...
That's a good name.
Well, it is a good name. She also had a movie made about her, directed by Tony Scott, played by... who Domino, the title of the movie, was played by Keira Knightley.
Wait,
which,
what?
Yeah, Domino. Had Mickey Rourke in it and was the American film debut of Edgar Ramirez. So if you ever get a chance, it is bullshit. It's batshit crazy. This was the movie that Tony Scott made after doing Man on Fire, and so this was during his LSD trip phase.
It's the
just
best.
Badass. It's badass. I love
LSD.
Domino.
That phase is so good.
Yes. But yeah, Domino. Definitely check it out.
I've never tried it, but man, I can only imagine doing that and then watching Man on Fire, because that movie. Whew.
Yep. But I just gotta say it's awesome. I love Domino. It's one of those movies that it didn't get enough respect, and sadly enough, Angela Lansbury, Murder, She Wrote.
From Kingdom Hearts.
Yep, and she's going to be, she's Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. And if I'm not correct, she's going to be in the next season of Game of Thrones at 90 of all things.
Yeah. Everyone's going to die.
Yes.
I love it.
I'm here to investigate the invasion. What invasion? That one.
John Frankenheimer. I know that one of Lobster's favorite action films is a movie called Ronin, which was also directed by John Frankenheimer. I would also kind of bring up that John Frankenheimer was also involved with the sequel for The French Connection called The French Connection 2. No duh. Frankenheimer also made a couple of other really great conspiracy theory movies. The next one was his next film, which was called 7 Days in May with Burt Lancaster. Another thing that any 24 fan would love to get their hands on if you haven't seen it yet. And he also did Seconds, which is a body swap movie that will definitely make your brain turn on a little bit. But yeah, I love John Frankenheimer as a director. Anything that y'all want to bring up? Any that you think I might have missed?
I just wanted, looking through my notes, this thing is I got a big laugh at the very end of the remake where all the fat cat corporate people are crying over their evil plan failing. That was something I haven't seen before in movies. Usually it's like they're defiant until the very end, and here it's like they're crying over the fact their horrible plan didn't work.
Oh, by the way, talking about the remake, did you notice another 24 connection?
Oh yeah, Mike Novick and Joko Ivanek are both in the movie. Yeah, I was having 24 flashbacks the whole movie.
It was weird seeing with hair. I will say that.
Yeah,
I'm so used to him being bald, but yes. So I just thought that was kind of awesome. So, gentlemen, we really need to get to this. So let's do this. Lobster.
No.
Kent.
Fake lobster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kent, Cody, do you agree with the critics on the Manchurian Candidate? Do you give it a pass? Do you give it a fail? Or do you give it a maybe? Cody.
I give it a pass, if only for the influence this has had on political thrillers and TV shows ever since. I mean, we've been talking this whole show about Homeland and 24, and I've read also like Tom Clancy books and Vince Flynn books that have played on this concept. So it is definitely a pass.
All right. Ken.
Pass on behalf of, Angela frickin' Lansbury. You know, I should use that instead of like how you treat Claude fucking Rains. I should just go Angela fucking Lansbury.
Hey, don't be stealing my thing. You bring up your own.
Yeah, okay.
But
yeah,
fine,
but,
I'll narrow it down. Claude motherfucking Rains, okay?
Oh, fine, okay.
Right.
Yeah, but there's only one motherfucker in this movie.
You see, you don't want to bring up Angela motherfucking Lansbury because that might actually remind you of this movie.
You love this movie? Okay, yeah. But yeah, between the aforementioned influence, like between 24 or I remember next Star Trek Next Generation episode where Geordi's kidnapped and reprogrammed to kill. Like, okay, it's like he's the Manchurian engineer. Actually, they may actually say the words Manchurian Candidate in that episode.
Probably so.
No.
This is
Yeah,
it's become short. It's become short.
Yeah.
Shorthand
And
now.
It just real quick. Sorry, Kent. Just
Crazy. Yeah.
Eric, you were mentioning sci-fi doing this. There's a show all three of us have seen that has done this before. Battlestar Galactica literally did this storyline.
Yeah. This is Battlestar Galactica.
Babylon 5 did this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
So, God, yeah. Is there a sci-fi show that never did this storyline at all? In any way, shape, or form.
Well, I mean, if you want to look at it from the horror perspective, we've also seen The Thing, which was also kind of in this thing, the infiltrator who will come and get you.
Yeah.
So yeah. But
anyway, it's a pass. So we have 2 passes so far. I wonder what the third vote will be.
Obviously, it's going to be a pass. I fucking love this movie. This is a movie that, as soon as the Criterion Collection said they were putting this in their collection, I basically pre-owned it right away. This is a movie that makes you think. It makes you, even with its plot contrivances, and I think that this is a movie that just embraces its plot contrivances and it just enjoys being what it is, while at the same time really giving you something to think about. It's that Red Scare type of movie that really does kind of get that point across, and it doesn't sugarcoat it. It doesn't give you that all happy ending. The good guys kind of win, but at a deep cost. And that's kind of, especially for the period, this is as good as it's ever going to get. And I think this is better than some others that would be a lot more cynical. It's so good that even the remake was capable of being pretty decent for its time, and being able to do something different on its own and still feel like it earns the title of the Manchurian Candidate. So yeah, definite pass. Love this movie. If you haven't seen it, why the hell did you listen to this podcast all the way up here? Get to it, then come back, and then you can have at it for our opinions. And if you do decide to do that, you certainly know exactly where you can find us on Facebook. If you want to hit us on Twitter, at Arthouse Legends. And of course, if you really just want to be kind of sneaky and quiet, you can always hit us up with an email at arthouselegends@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Also, if you feel like it, you can always go and give us that 5-star rating on iTunes. And you do know that in January, we do have a listener's request option that's coming up. So if you want to be in on that, please feel free to like us on Facebook or subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, or the whole Twitter thing. And we'll be making that choice probably at the end of December. December 31st is when we'll be kind of making that decision. So please make sure to have it done by then. Of course, you do know that next week is Thanksgiving week. And, whenever I think about Thanksgiving, I think about turkey. I think about key parties in the 70s with the director of Hulk and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Sigourney Weaver just being a really nasty individual to a couple of kids, Wednesday Addams and Frodo Baggins. So,
okay.
Yep. So next week we are going to 1997's Ang Lee film The Ice Storm. And if you want anyone to blame for that one, you can talk to him next week. So,
yeah. Got any plugs there, Cody, before we sign off?
Nope.
No shameless plugs?
No.
None at all?
Nope.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Cody, for joining us for this episode. I hope that you join us again sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, any last word, gentlemen?
Red Queen.
No, I don't have any.
This is the MovieDude Eric.
This is Kent.
This is Cody.
And